So you're about to get a little bit of insight into my weird brain. My first memory of any awareness of my body is also my very first memory. I was on the carpeted floor of my family's Bronx apartment, and my Happy Apple toy, a Weeble-like plastic apple with a bright chime sound, was about a foot or so in front of me. I must have been about 5 months old. Yes, really. So a foot was too far to reach, though I stretched my arm out trying anyway. I really wanted that happy apple. And my brain has filled in the extras through the years with things that I am certain are not really part of my memory. I wanted to hold the toy, but it was too far. I'm sure now, from a space of being 44, that I was frustrated that I couldn't reach. And these are the extras. The only real memory is that body experience of the beige carpet against my skin and the happy apple and my reaching. And after that, I thought very little about my body throughout my childhood. It was there, but it didn't really seem to do anything for me particularly well. I grew up in a place where playing sports in all seasons dominated the culture. And I was a deeply unathletic child. I was a slow runner. I had poor hand-eye coordination. At 12, I once stepped over a soccer ball only a foot from the goal. It was too small to connect with in front of that open goal. So later, when I connected with ballet as my primary sport, I didn't build muscle very easily, and I wasn't flexible. And then I received some strange mixed messages about my body from our larger world. Popular culture told me that at the time I had the ideal body type of the 1990s. I was extremely thin in a way that many people can only attain through starvation or substances. My community, having produced multiple Olympic athletes, yes, that is real, celebrated muscular bodies. And my peers teased me relentlessly. Teachers pulled me aside to ask what I was eating and how often, concerned for my health, but unintentionally contributing to my own negative self-image. Everywhere I went, my body was wrong for the world around me. I resented my body. And it took long into adulthood to begin to undo the years of wishing it were different, that it looked different or moved differently. And then in my late 20s, just as I was becoming comfortable with it, anxiety showed up. And it showed up with symptoms that in my worst moments, I felt everywhere in my body, and my body became unreliable. It was someone else's illness that helped me connect most fully with the gratitude for all that my body indeed does for me. Today, my best friend's father, Dave, has Alzheimer's. It is his brain that has made his body betray him. And it's hard and it's sad, to watch my friend and her family experience this decline alongside Dave. But also, and here's where their story is a little different, it is glorious that in 2025, he is here experiencing this illness, because a decade ago, no one imagined we'd ever get here. See, when I met Dave about 20 or so years ago, he was active. He was running regularly, traveling coast to coast as a defense attorney. He was interviewed with the possibility of becoming a federal judge. He was also a professional opera singer with the Seattle Opera. And then he got sick. My friend E.B. Saunter wrote, "We're part of an interdependent web of existence, and sometimes that interdependence is physical." In 2015, my dad almost died of idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, medical for your lungs are turning into scar tissue and we don't know why. In August, he told me what hymns he wanted at his funeral. We watched him slip away, getting weaker and weaker. But one night in December, a stranger died, and my family and several others on an organ waiting list got a call. The day after the winter solstice, my dad received a life-saving transplant. I remember the cycles of hope and fear waiting for the organs to arrive from out of town, sharing an ecstatic family hug when the surgery was successful. It was disruptive and strange to spend Christmas in the hospital, living on endless cups of coffee and constant hand washing. Even more so to know that someone had died to bring this hope, and to wonder how the donor's family mourned at the same time we rejoiced. This gift of new life wasn't just warm and fuzzy. It came with disruption and responsibility. Something was forever changed in our family. E.B. and I were roommates in San Diego at the time, and when she called me to report on the surgery, she said, "When he woke up, he looked like himself." And there was so much healing ahead, and the fear of Dave's body rejecting his new lungs was present. But, said my friend, even if we just get a couple of days of this, it is worth it to see my dad again. This Christmas, it will be a decade. Dave has seen E.B. get ordained. He's seen the birth of his grandchildren and E.B.'s wedding. And over these 10 years, one thing has remained with me. For all of the things that Dave's body used to do, that it stopped doing in 2015, that have become less possible for him with age and illness over time, the thing that has been the most treasured is simply breathing. It is not our body's job to show up as anything but the vessel that carries us through life. And it can look like so many different things. It can be so many things and carry us through life. And I'll be honest, it has taken more than Dave's experience to find connection to and love for my body. It's taken modeling from other people, an intentional practice because the world out there is really loud. My seminary classmate, Kendrick Kemp, focuses his work on what he calls a Black liberation theology of disability, focusing on the intersection of Black liberation theology and disability justice theology, which was just in its infancy when we were in school. Kendrick and others doing similar work are intentional about bringing experiences of marginalization in their bodies to the center. They disrupt the societal norms that would have us believe that disabled bodies are broken, that health cannot be found in fat or disabled bodies, that skin should be free of wrinkles or scars, that we should stay home rather than ask for the accommodations our bodies need. Kendrick shows up with love for his body first, demanding that it be welcomed in all of the spaces he knows he belongs. And in those moments that I struggle with mine the most, Kendrick is who I look to. How would he show up? Saying, I belong here, this whole body of mine that sometimes works like yours and sometimes doesn't. Sometimes practicing gratitude for our bodies looks like the song we sang during our time for all ages. And I know that many of you might be thinking, well, that was definitely a song for preschoolers, right? It was a really little kid song. I have had this song stuck in my head for days on end now, because it's really quick, right? It's very simple. I love my body from my head to my toes. You speed it up and it goes even faster. And the thing about singing it over and over is that one of the things we know about the neuroplasticity of our brains is that when we repeat things, we start to believe them. When we make ourselves repeat affirmation, even if we're not feeling it at first, we begin to feel it. And so it loosens my shoulders, and I connect to it. And I love my face, my eyes, my mouth, my nose. It's there. I think I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to not try to wipe it from my brain, because boy, is it good for me to hear myself say that over and over. Sometimes that's exactly what we need, a moment in song or in meditation, which we will do later, to extend gratitude directly to our bodies. But here is where we spend some time in the complexity of adulthood, right? Because being a human being in this world is complicated. We can't escape those wider society norms that I mentioned, the ones that continue to dole out the shoulds even when we politely decline them and then more forcefully reject them. Sometimes our gratitude for our bodies needs to look a little bit different than standing in front of the mirror with affirmation. Unitarian Universalist musician and former member of Sweet Honey in the Rock, Dr. Issei Barnwell, wrote a song that later became a children's book called No Mirrors in My Nana's House. In it, Barnwell rejects the idea that we must look at ourselves to find beauty in our being, and instead turns to find our own beauty reflected back to us from our loved ones. I had a chance to do this earlier, actually, and it came to me quite accidentally. I was adjusting my stole, and I hadn't done it in front of the mirror, so I couldn't see myself, and this one sits a little crooked unless I'm really careful with it. And Dorothy May was sitting right there, and she was looking directly at me as I was adjusting. And so I sort of motioned, and she indicated that I should lift one side, and then indicated that I should lift the other side. And she sort of was the mirror reflecting back to me, here is how you can offer this thing that you're trying to present outwardly, right? This isn't about my whole body, but about just one part of my clothing. But I sort of laughed to myself in that moment, thinking, oh, I think this fits in our service. So Barnwell writes, there were no mirrors in my Nana's house, and the beauty that I saw in everything was in her eyes. So I never knew that my skin was too black. I never knew that my nose was too flat. I never knew that my clothes didn't fit. I never knew there were things that I missed because the beauty in everything was in her eyes. Sometimes we need that to turn the mirrors around or put them away or remove them entirely. Like so many other tensions we hold in life, this one is available to us. We can look in the mirror and celebrate ourselves, or we can remove them from our home and celebrate ourselves. We can listen to the need felt deep inside and hold gratitude for our bodies in so many different ways. We can find that gratitude deep within, or we can draw it from outside affirmations. We can balance that gratitude with healthcare and support aids when our bodies need partnership. And if I were to guess, I think what is true is that all of us need all of this to varying degrees and at different times. So perhaps the best way we can offer gratitude to our bodies is to listen first for what they need in this moment. Celebrate all they are still capable of doing or all they achieve, not achieving like check marks, but knowing that they carry us through each day and month, through each year. Maybe we can just go on thanking them.